we are very excited to have Ronde Barber join the program. Ronde, how are you, man? What's going on?
I am good. How are you guys, man? It's hot
good,
down in
brother.
Florida. I hope y'all ready.
Should I go back home and get more shorts?
You need shorts. You need, like, see-through T-shirts. It's hot, man.
All right. Well, is it going to be hot for our young quarterback with that blitzing that Todd Bowles like doing?
Well, I think Todd has a pretty steady history of blitzing the hell out of young quarterbacks. So, yes, expect a lot of that. I mean, I don't know where they are in terms of – I mean, I could look up the stats, or you could look up the stats in terms of percentage of blitzes, but he's perpetually in the top 10 anyways. But I know with young quarterbacks, he likes to get after them, and even more so with running quarterbacks. Just the more lanes you can occupy, less opportunities you have him to extend plays. Which obviously I watched a couple of his preseason games, and obviously all of college. You could tell that's what he's wanting to do. So yeah, expect a lot of 5 and 6 man pressures this weekend for young Jaden.
Ronde, for you, I mean, you're a Hall of Fame cornerback, right? And it's pretty damn cool that you got to play your entire career in one city in Tampa. When you were going to face off against a rookie quarterback, what was that like kind of as a corner? What did you try to figure out or expect?
Yeah. First of all, let me get to something. It's great being a Hall of Fame corner. I should be on the radio with a Hall of Fame kick returner right now, by the way.
Well said.
I grew up in Washington, whatever the other name was, fan my entire life, Southwest Virginia. And BMitch is a dog. Devin Hester just got in. He's got twice as many return yards. I'm just waiting. You're going to be a teammate of mine soon, buddy. It's going to happen.
2028.
Take that team too.
So Ronde, 2028 is when he will become eligible for the senior committee, and we're going to have. Oh yeah. We got plans, so we're going to call on you then.
You got an advocate in me. Anyways, yeah. So long-term corner in the league and see rookie quarterback. Look, you just know that they're not processing right. They're not fast enough, and I always used to try to use that to my advantage. That they were more than likely going to be one-read guys, and I think Jaden's got a little bit of that in him, anyways. One read, start to move, use your athleticism. So for me, if I could get a sense of, the timing of their routes, whether, whatever film that we had, and, for first game, it's kind of hard. So you got his preseason film that you don't get a lot of it, but just timing on the routes that they liked, then you knew you could take advantage of it. So I used to do that a lot. I used to spend most of my time with young quarterbacks just trying to find out what they were really good at least what they thought they were really good at. And that's where I was going to take my shots with them. And I think coordinators on defense think the same thing. Like, it's limited. Even if they're the best rookie quarterback in league history, they're not going to have the game knowledge to be able to go out and execute the entire playbook. So I think you can take advantage of that, but the great equalizer, you guys know this, man, is athleticism in today's quarterbacks. And this guy has it in spades, man. He's special. I mean, you don't win the Heisman by accident, right? He's a special player. And I know that all of the prep here in Tampa on defense is to plan for the unexpected, the variables that you can't see on film and whatnot.
Ronnie, when I played, man, I always talked to the guys on the other side of the ball to ask them what they were looking for. If you were to talk to a young guy like a receiver or a cornerback or a quarterback, what would you tell them to not do to give off a lot of hints?
Yeah, that's a good question. The biggest thing, we'll start with quarterback. The biggest thing a quarterback can do is not lock into his receiver right away. I used to always find it hard when quarterbacks would drop back looking straight down the middle of the field. Because you see some young guys and some veteran guys too, to be honest with you, that would drop back and their eyes are immediately to where they want the ball to go. Yeah. And at that point, you're just like, because that's through your 3-step read or 3 or 4-step read when I'm playing corner. And if I saw that, you're like, okay, he's coming here, or he's going to tuck this or get sacked or something. But for receivers, you got to understand leverage. The NFL is all about leverage. I mean, there's very few guys that can. At my position anyways, it can line up and just, play with you. Want to take away outside leverage, but line up inside. Patrick Surtain is one of the guys in the league right now that can do that. But there's not a bunch of guys that can disguise what their intentions are. And so the faster receiver can understand that, and like this guy's trying to funnel me to the safety, or he's moving inside leverage because he wants to pin me to the sideline, and then be able to adjust your routes off that. That's when you know a guy is really starting to develop his craft, and that takes time, especially at this level.
Ronde, I don't know how much you get to watch them, but the corners here in DC really struggled last year.
Mm-hmm.
From year to year, and they had a first-round pick in Emmanuel Forbes that struggled, but they had a kid in Benjamin St. Juste that had played pretty well a season prior, and then he struggled. From year to year, can corners kind of turn it around, or is that more difficult at a position where, I mean, you truly are on an island?
And how important is coaching with that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, most of that is coaching. And y'all have a good coach. I mean, obviously you have a great defensive mind, and Dan Quinn, Joe Vitt Jr. is, he's young. He's going to figure that out. But, it comes down to the position coaches, man. So from my 3 position coaches that really sit me on my way, obviously Herm Edwards was my first one. But when I started to get into learning the nuances of the game under Mike Tomlin, and then Raheem Morris, and then Jimmy Lake, who's the defensive coordinator in Atlanta now, he's the head coach at Washington. Those guys are so detail-oriented that if for a guy that was willing to work, and that was me, I wanted to work. I wanted to put everything I could into it and find out, the ins and outs and all the other stuff. And they were able to give me that bread, and then I was able to eat it up. That's how I got better. Your athleticism is only going to take you so far, right? It's the above-the-neck knowledge and ability to execute that onto the field, stuff that you learn in the classroom onto the field. That is when you start taking the next steps. Like, and a good coach is able to communicate that. And so that's, to me, that's when I look at bad corner play, sometimes I think about, how's this guy getting taught? And if you see it repetitively, you're like, he's getting taught this, or he's not getting taught at all. And in which case, in lieu of good teaching, he's just making it up on his own. And that's when you start saying, okay, this guy's just not doing himself a service to be the best player he can be. So I would look there. I mean, you got athletic players. I mean, I looked at your depth chart. I know what Emmanuel Forbes was. I broke him down coming out of college at Mississippi State a year ago, and you saw all those freaky type skills. And it's hard. It takes a minute to adjust to the NFL, especially if you're trying to figure it out on your own. But hopefully he gets the right coaching, and he turns into the guy that can start taking the football away, because certainly that's where y'all are lacking.
Yeah,
I say that a lot about like I tell people it takes people time. I know fans don't want to hear that, but it's true. Guys don't just step out of college and walk on the field and be great. And if you do, you're not the norm.
Well, and if the position coach is that important. I'm not trying to drag this dude, but Brett Wieselmeyer was the position coach last year, and what, like, he had no previous position head running his own room, right? And that's ultimately what it is. And I do think the position coach last year was a problem. So maybe, do you think Forbes, though, specifically the frame can hold up?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think that's more overplayed because it just looks abnormal. I don't remember if he missed a lot of games in college. I don't think he did.
He didn't. But I think he missed a couple the COVID year, but because he had COVID.
Right. So when I looked at Emmanuel, yes, he's slight. I mean, I don't know what his weight is now. I wouldn't know that. But I know he came out at about 177 pounds or something, like 76 pounds on that 6 foot frame. He was not an unwilling physical guy. He just didn't have the body to be physical. So it's not like he was out there turning down hits. He was just, trying to get in the way and bring people to the ground. And that's hard when you're lanky, because you don't have any mass to do anything. Yeah. So I'm not worried about his frame. I'd just be worried about, his confidence. When you get shook early, it's sometimes hard. I mean, I benefited from not being good enough to play my rookie year. So I had to sit back and learn and figure out how to do it. But I would say you don't put a judgment out on him until about year 3. We got a guy here in Tampa named Zion McCollum. If you look at his measurables, he's going to be a starter at left corner this year. If you look at his measurables, they were the best ever coming out of college, ever of anybody ever measured. He was an A+, but he's drafted in the 5th round because he didn't have a great tape. He played at Houston, and he's going into his 3rd year. And I can tell just in a year's time how much growth he's had. because he had to play a little bit last year. He didn't play much as a rookie, but he played a little bit last year, started a bunch of games, and now he looks like he's ready to take that next step. So I'd put that same caution on Emmanuel, just because it's going to take him just a little bit to figure out how to play this game in this level.
Ronde, the tight end and the running backs coming out the backfield has become a vital part of offenses now. It wasn't as much back in the day as it is now, because tight ends probably, they get more passes than a lot of the damn receivers. How do you attack that when the tight end could be the best receiver on the roster?
Right. That's so true, man. And it's like the evolution of football has happened at two key positions. One was DN, because everybody used to run a 4-3, and they wanted these big edge rushing DNs. Now they've gotten 250 pounds in flight. And at tight end, where they used to be the same, where tight ends used to have a dual role as blocking guys, so they had to carry 260 pounds and be 6'5" and be able to hold up on the edge. And now you see guys, the more dynamic ones look like overgrown wide receivers.
It's crazy,
and it's crazy. It's just the evolution of the game. So how do you deal with those guys? And it's hard, because it's just cliche. Everybody says it. They're bigger and faster than linebackers, or they're faster than linebackers and bigger than safeties. So you kind of have to have a special player to deal with it if you want to do it individually. But I'd say, Brian, the biggest adjustments have become in scheme. Where you focus on. You watched Kansas City and Baltimore last night. I mean, you just look what they try to do to Kelsey. Whenever you put him in man-to-man defense or one-on-one type of coverage, he's so savvy. He knows how to just get away from leverage. And Patrick Mahomes is a magician at finding time and finding completions for him. And it's where the game is gone. That guy was never a guy that was a second reaction receiver, and now they're the guy. I mean, Blake Lively on the other side was the same thing. Yeah. That last touchdown that wasn't a touchdown. I mean, how many pirouettes did Lamar do in the pocket before he let that thing go? Yeah. And he found a guy that had to buy that much time in coverage to get open. So I would say that's where the evolution of the position has gone. They're just hard to deal with. And if you don't have a good one, then it somewhat limits this new age offense. And I mean, you guys know that. You got Cliff Kingsbury now as your coordinator, and all he wants to do is spread you out and use that space. And you need a guy that can occupy that space and find options for your quarterback.
Ronde, it's funny you talk about kind of the evolution of DNs. I don't know if you've ever physically stood next to him, but Montez Sweat to me embodies this gigantic length, speed, all of it. When he was at the Senior Bowl, he clocked the fastest game speed of every player on that field. Not a wideout, not a back, not a DB, a DN. It's bananas, man.
That's unreal. I mean, he's a guy that you wish you still had on your team, right?
Yeah, he kind of. Hey, but look, you played in with Tampa too. You played with Warren Sapp down, and he was rushing up the middle. And I think we get so caught up, everybody around here, especially, and a lot in football, about the outside rush. How important or how damaging can the inside rush? Because everyone talking about our cornerbacks. I say, hell, we get some rush up the middle. The quarterback will have all day to throw the football, and you could give them better time or give them a better opportunity. How important is that?
Well, you'll understand this, Brian. So the offenses have simplified in a way in the run game. You don't see so much gap game schemes anymore, where your pullers and all that other stuff like you guys used to run when you were returning kicks back in the day. All that gap run game that y'all had in Washington. It's more zone scheme run, so there's offensive line moving the same direction, yada yada yada. So with that, defenses have started to try to get bigger or kind of longer on the outside with athletic guys, these undersized edge rushers. They don't call them DNs anymore; they call them edge, and so they can kind of be bookends, right? And so the ball can't get outside there. But what that does is it frees up if you're in a 3-4, it frees up those two interior rushers. So think of Warren Sapp if he was in a 3-4 defense. He would have been an interior defensive end. You have a huge nose tackle like Vita Vea, like we have down here, and then you have two inside guys, and one of them in our team is Kalijah Campbell. So to the point that you're making about where that pass rush can come from, keep an eye on 94 for Tampa when you're watching this game, because they've gotten bigger on the outside or longer on the outside, so they can kind of contain it. And then it gives 94 Kalijah Campbell inside a ton of room to operate. And you get him one-on-ones with Vita Vea on a guard, I'm telling you, he's going to beat you. You're going to lose right there. And so the more guys you can have like that on your team, those interior rush guys, the better. I mean, Aaron Donald was a perfect example.
Yeah, and
he
that's
thrived in a fourth. He thrived in a 4-3 as a 3 technique, and then he goes to LA and they kind of bastardized his 3-4 scheme for him. He's basically a 3 technique and a 3-4 scheme. So, and it just gave him all these one-on-one opportunities and just allowed him to just be dominant.
Yeah, see, that's what I was talking about. Aaron Donald,
the Giants do that well for Dexter Lawrence too.
Chris Jones, those guys, hell, they get more pressure on the quarterback than the damn DN.
Well, and when you get that interior push, it disrupts timing far more than the edge.
Yes, totally.
Quicker line to the quarterback.
Sure, straight line, right? Ronde, this has been fantastic, dude, and I appreciate you so much for making time. I understand you're going to give BMitch a whole bunch of strokes when you guys play. I'll let you guys settle that.
Man, I looked at that course online, bro. I was like, damn, is this Scotland? How many traps on that? How many traps on that course, man?
There's a lot. There's the biggest trap in Hillsborough County out here. But hey, my handicap, he's handicapped right now just by the heat. I'm telling you, it's a walking only course, Brian.
Oh boy,
walking only. Bring your stamina, buddy.
Oh, I got my G4s. I'm ready for walking.
Ronde, if you get up this way, we'll set some golf up too. But it sounds like I know
Ronde is from the area. He'll be here.
Sure, anytime.
Yeah,
we'll play congressional. But dude, it sounds like you think Tampa wins this one, maybe with a little bit of breathing room.
I would say there's a lot going on up in Washington. And again, I don't follow you guys from a day-to-day standpoint, but there's just a lot of turnover. You got a lot of new starters on your team on offense and defense. Yes, Dan Quinn and Vid have brought in some familiar faces, if you will, to help make this transition a little bit easier. But Tampa is a good football team. They got a lot of talent on offense. I mean, a ton of talent on offense. With the left tackle who just got paid, obviously bring Baker back, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Kate Ott's a good player. They drafted well at running back. They got a lot of good players. They signed McMillan, drafted McMillan from Washington this year. I think they hit their stride at the end of last year with the new quarterback Baker, and now I feel like they're ready to take the next step. So I would say that's the case. But Tampa's also vulnerable on defense. The secondary's had some issues, even though they got one of the best players in football in Antoine Winfield Jr. They've had some difficulties in pass defense, and they're going against the rookie quarterback. So put all those factors together, I'd give Tampa the edge here for sure. But what do I know? I'm just an ex-football player that watches a lot of football.
I think you know a lot, sir. And I also personally want to maybe thank you and maybe blame you for something. I've been betting on sports for a long time now. It's kind of a part of who I am. The first
ever since he was 12.
But the first Super Bowl where it was like a stack of cash in my pocket was when you guys beat the Raiders. So I want to tell you how much that meant to me.
He's gonna send your share by me. I'll bring it for you.
Oh, it's long gone.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
I mean, I was in college. We were living large.
Just to give it to BMitch and tell him he's allowed to gamble it tomorrow.
Yeah, make that a $50 Nassau auto presses. Ronde, thank you so much, man. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, man. I'll see you tomorrow, BMitch.
All right, bro. Got you, man. Take care, man.
Yeah.